All right, let's jump right in. What if I told you that our entire digital world, everything we rely on, is built on a foundation that's, well, fundamentally flawed? Today, we're going to explore a pretty radical new vision for computer science. It's a shift away from treating the world like a machine we have to control and towards seeing it as a living system that we can actually work with. And this quote right here, it just nails it. For something like 70 years, we've been running on this one big assumption that if we just write the right instructions, we can tame all the messiness of real life. And look, it gave us the modern world, no doubt about it. But it also built this deep brittleness into everything. You know what I mean? Power grids that just can't handle a weird storm, or financial models that completely fall apart when a crisis hits. These are the cracks starting to show in the code. So yeah, let's take a closer look at those cracks. This old way of doing things, we're going to call it Computer Science 1.0, it's been pushed as far as it can go. And now the signs that it's all starting to buckle are getting, well, pretty hard to ignore. Okay, check out the difference here because it's not just about code, it's a whole different philosophy. On one side, you've got CS 1.0. It's all about instruction sets. It looks at the world and says, how can I turn this into a sequence of commands to make it more efficient? But then you have CS 2.0, which is all about living systems. It looks at the world and sees a living ecosystem. It wants to build tech that doesn't just follow orders, but actually learns, adapts, and even regenerates right alongside us. And this is where we get to the real symptoms of the problem. First up, complexity without coherence. Just picture a city spending millions, maybe even billions, trying to get thousands of different, totally mismatched databases to just talk to each other. It's a mess. Then you've got speed without reflection. We've got these algorithms that amplify bias and tear down social trust faster than any of us can even react. And finally, intelligence without ethics. We've built this incredible computational power, but there's no moral architecture, no compass built into it at all. So, the big question is, how do we fix this? And the answer isn't just, oh, let's build a new programming language. No, it's much bigger than that. The source material calls it a new digital covenant. It's about completely redefining the entire relationship between our technology, our ethics, and, yeah, even our ecology. And this new way of thinking is built on some pretty radical ideas. First, the idea that computation itself can be alive, kind of like biological processes. Second, that language isn't just data to be processed, it's the actual root of intelligence. And here's the real game changer. The idea that ethics aren't just some vague guidelines, but something you can actually execute. You can write them right into the code. And through it all, two things are non-negotiable. Humans always stay in the loop, and we start treating our cities less like clunky machines and more like the living organisms they really are. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how does it actually work? Well, the engine that powers this whole new paradigm is what's called the triad of intelligence. It's these three interlocking systems that work together to turn what we want to do into actions we can actually be accountable for, all while making sure that we, the humans, are firmly in the driver's seat. First piece of the triad, HAIL, which stands for Human AI Language. The easiest way to think about it is as the ultimate universal translator. It can take human rules, I'm talking about things like a complex city ordinance or a tricky financial regulation, and translate them into code. But here's the key, it's code that we can perfectly audit and that machines can perfectly understand. This closes that really dangerous gap between what we think we told the machine to do and what it actually does. Next up is PAL, the Personal AI Liaison. This is basically your own personal digital companion. Its whole job, its entire reason for existing, is to keep you at the center of every single decision. It gets the context of what's happening, it might suggest a few actions, but, and this is so important, it will never make a change without your explicit go-ahead. This is how you guarantee the human is always, always in the loop. And the final piece of the triad is the virtue engine. You can think of this as the system's conscience. Before any action gets taken, it gets checked against a set of core virtues. Things like stewardship, respect, reciprocity. Is what we're about to do respectful? Is it responsible? It's the part of the system that asks the most important question. Not just, can we do this? But should we do this? And here you can see just how beautifully it all fits together. A decision's journey, right? First, HAIL makes sure our intent is captured perfectly, no room for error. Then, PAL steps in to keep the whole process human-centered, making sure we give the final okay. And finally, the virtue engine makes sure the choice lines up with our shared values. It's a complete, start-to-finish, ethical decision-making loop. Okay, so let's bring all this theory down to earth. Let's talk about a real-world example. how would you even begin to apply this to something as wildly complex as a modern city? Well, the goal is to stop treating it like a clunky, inefficient machine and start treating it like a living, breathing organism. And here's the kind of impact we're talking about. I mean, this is huge. By getting every part of a city to speak the same language, this model suggests we could get rid of 60 to 80% of the redundant, clunky, mismatched IT systems that cities have now. That's an enormous amount of money that stops going to just keeping the lights on and starts going to actual, real-world improvements for citizens. And the way this all gets managed is through something called the Future City Portal. Just think of it as the city's central nervous system. It's all built on a shared language, like a common dictionary that every single system, water, energy, housing, you name it, can understand. So instead of thousands of incompatible databases that don't talk to each other, you get one unified view. You're replacing this crazy patchwork of software with, well, the technical term is ontological unity, but what it really means is that for the first time, everyone, city planners, regular citizens, and even the AI, is looking at and working from the exact same real-time picture of reality. But let's zoom out for a second, because this isn't just about running cities more efficiently. This entire architecture is actually being proposed as a new and much safer path toward the holy grail of AI, building a true general intelligence, but one that is aligned with our values from the absolute ground up. And this isn't just some pie-in-the-sky idea. If you look at the established criteria for what makes a true artificial general intelligence, you can see how each piece of this system maps directly to one of them. The problem of representation, that's handled by that shared language, the SDL. Comprehension, that's HAIL. Reasoning, that's done with deterministic services, which basically means it's predictable and we can audit it. And the big ones, learning is always governed by a human in the loop, and alignment is handled from day one by the virtue engine. It's a complete framework for building an intelligence that has a conscience baked in from the very beginning. And that really brings us to the final and maybe the most important takeaway here. What if the goal was never to create an artificial intelligence that thinks for us? What if the real goal all along should have been to build a system of aligned general stewardship, a kind of technology that helps all of us think better together, an intelligence that isn't trying to replace humanity, but is actually designed to help us regenerate our world?